question that probably no one is thinking is, if you wanted to make the American roads safer, how would you do it? Oftentimes, we bemoan the lack of safety on US roads by comparing them with the Netherlands. Just like this article, which is well written, and talks about something that we already know and understand intuitively. Their solutions point to the society and the government as being both the proximate causes, and the proximate solutions to the problem. But to make the picture a bit more complete, why not compare the US with India? You will not be surprised to know that it's a carnage out there on the Indian roads. In absolute numbers, each year, about 150,000 people die in road accidents in that country. In comparison, 38,000 people died in the US, and 661 died in the Netherlands. That's pretty bad. If you think about it, even one life lost on the roads is probably one too many. Why should commuting to work, or going to meet Aunt Martha, next to the vineyards, or going to buy some eggs, be a risk to life and limb? It should be unacceptable. It doesn't feel that way because we have all traveled on the road many times over, and are still alive to listen to this robotic voice droning on, at some weird corner of the internet. I know, it is strange. But let me tell you that it is unacceptable to me, to lose my life, just because I am going down the road, minding my own business. Because we cannot ignore it, a solution is needed, and broadly speaking there are two possible ways in which we can make it harder for people to die on the road. Let us call them the Tesla way, and the Dutch way. The Tesla way blames the driver of the vehicle, and tries to replace him with an automaton, which should, purportedly, make fewer errors, and thus lead to fewer loss of lives. In this solution, the rich and the restless buy shiny new toys, also known as self-driving cars, that they can show off to their friends on Instagram and in real life, while investors and a person by the name of Elon Musk become enormously wealthy, and we get a lot of memes, which helps, because those of us who can't afford the shiny new toys, can at least have a good laugh. If we follow the Tesla way, some of us also get to talk endlessly about how the future will be awesome because self-driving cars, and AI, and robots, and automation, and batteries. There is an argument to be made that it is the easier to execute option, because of the conglomeration of venture capital funds and tech bros, in a fabled land called the Silicon Valley, even though the outcomes are uncertain, and a lot of the tech is underdeveloped and iffy. From the government's point of view, it doesn't have to do much here, except maybe build and implement some regulations for the robo-vehicles, and that's it. Of course, the downside is that not everyone may be able to afford these self-driven cars, because they are expensive. People who have to, or choose to walk or ride a bicycle, are still faced with a large number of cars, both human-driven and robot-driven. Does it really solve the problem then? That is hard to say. The alternate path, the Dutch way, is to change the environment and the roads, to encourage human drivers to drive slowly and more carefully. And also, probably more importantly, encourage people to not drive the car as much, but perhaps bike it, or even walk it, if it is doable. In this solution, there are fewer cars on the road, and those which are there, are probably driven with greater care. The risk to pedestrians and cyclists is greatly reduced, which encourages more people to walk or bike, which reduces the risk to pedestrians and cyclists, which encourages more people to walk, etc. You can see where this is going. Now of course, this is a vastly different solution, where the main burden sits on the government's shoulders. They have to come up with new road design, get its citizens to buy into them, spend all that money to relay the roads, and figure out a way to collect more taxes to pay for all those expenses. It is not easy, and no government is going to do it unless the citizens push for it strongly, which is a hard coordination problem to solve. It is tricky because many people need to believe that the problem is bad enough to buy into the solution, which is probably not the case yet in the United States. The US today is one of the wealthiest large nations in the history of the world. Its infrastructure is very good, even though its citizens do complain from time to time. In that country, a car is affordable for the large majority. It is a life that they have seen and lived and are familiar with, and there are no strong reasons to give up the car, and pootle around everywhere on a bike, or even on foot. I feel confident to predict that the US getting self-driving cars in appreciable numbers is a more likely future than its cities and towns getting roads that look like those in Amsterdam. And on that slightly sour note, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to this tiny channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.